All right, guys, if you want to start finding a seat, we'll get started in just a couple minutes. You guys want to?
Yeah, the countdown on parking has started.
I've been doing this all week. Yeah, I've been doing this all week, even with the video people, because obviously I'm in the UK and there's over here and stuff. Oh my God, I've been emailing you for like 9 months. How are you? Very, very nice to meet you. That's my colleague, Rachel. She handles grid.
I do graphics virtualization,
Yeah, but then I don't do that much grid either.
Yeah. If this isn't enough, just grab a chair from over here if you want a more comfortable one, or.
I was going to say, John's never managed to finish it because of the whole GTC thing. So as soon as he's finished the actual course, if you don't mind.
Hi, I'm Rachel.
Hi, Rachel. I'm Stephen.
No problem.
Computer science degree or
Yeah, I'm not actually sure if I'm allowed to send that as an the problem is, I was kind of hoping it would be bigger than that, but I'm looking at staying with anyone. Once I get going, so on. But I'm not actually sure. I may be able to, actually, I may be able to, but I need to just check. There is a oh, yeah, I'll explain some.
Yeah.
But, as soon as everybody's ready.
Hello everybody. Welcome to join. I don't know if we've got some other people who are waiting.
There's still somebody by the door
Okay,
right now, so.
okay, good.
I'll go slide.
Yeah, I'm all right. I just don't know whether I'm allowed to pay again on the same meter. But we've got until 11:58 on that meter outside. So can you just extend it?
Oh,
It's voice command, I forgot.
Alison, you could just drive along to the next one.
Or you could do it back up to the other thing. Yeah, on what way street, because I'm English, we can do that.
Or is it predict like, oh,
And possibly get away. Yeah, anyway, so the only thing I have to do, apart from being a tourist in San Francisco, is shoot down to the car at 11:58 otherwise. I don't know what happens, I don't know whether you get zapped in San Francisco if you go over the parking meter or not, but in London it's a bit.
they burned the car.
Yeah, well, in London they do really nasty things too, so I don't know how it works in San Francisco.
don't worry, I can't really.
So we're doing a hangout as well.
Yeah, why not? We've got an hangout. And
Get out of the way. We've seen this.
Yeah, I'll find out about that. I literally just.
Yes.
I don't want you to take a
I can actually present on it. It's like that. Yeah, it's been a bit of a shock, so. I was volunteering with the local. See, I don't do we can worry about that.
Yeah, so, yeah, that's cool.
Sorry, she's yes.
Is that a good angle?
That sounds good. Yeah, sorry. Can I you a little bit? Thank you. No, please. I am sorry.
And it's also
Yeah, so that's what the numbers here.
Rachel, Julian,
Yeah, so I'm just assuming you're
The one I remember.
I mean, Greg had.
You go to the study That's the one. Okay.
I have it there.
Oh, okay.
Hello everyone. Thank you everyone to be here. I think it's our third Keras community meeting. Meetup, we are really happy. It's really an honor for us to have you here. Thank you to take the time on the Saturday morning. We know that it's pretty hard because you had, as like me, big party yesterday, and it's very difficult to wake up. Thank you, Julian, to come. Welcome, and to be here, because if you are here today to spread the knowledge about deep learning and Keras, it's not for us, but for them. It's the future for them mainly. And so far, we are online in the same time. Thank you, Steph, to manage that. And thank you, Julian and Alberton School, to welcome us today. It's an incredible place here in the center of San Francisco. And thank you for that. Thank you.
That's our pleasure.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Julian, for hosting us. And thanks, everyone, for coming. We know it's early in the morning. Okay, so my name is François, and you may know me as a Keras guy. So actually, my real full-time job is doing deep learning research at Google. And making Keras is like my other full-time job. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about the vision behind the Keras project. So why we started Keras and what we're trying to achieve with it, and with the Keras community. So it involves every one of us. And but before I start with that, I need to tell you about something that's much bigger than Keras itself. I need to tell you about where AI is going. So I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with deep learning, but probably you know about the incredible progress that deep learning has been making over the past 5 years. So today, deep learning is working, I think, much better than anybody anticipated just 5 years ago. So we've been making tremendous progress. Even the people who developed deep learning did not really anticipate we'd be so far right now. And so right now on a month-to-month basis, we're making these really exciting advances. But the thing is, most of these advances, they are not deployed yet. So the technology is there, the research is done, also in progress. but the tech is not really deployed. So there's not much deep learning inside your phone. There's not much deep learning inside your computer. So it's yet to be deployed. And I'm really here to tell you that it's about to happen. That AI is coming, right? And so the world is about to change. And maybe it's difficult to believe right now that AI is about to change the world because we've seen very little progress so far. We see very little concrete impact. But it's about to happen, right? And if you look back in time, a few years ago at 1995, so at the time the internet was already there, but few people had access to it, and it was not yet making a big impact. And so if you go back in time and to 1995 and start telling people that the internet is about to change the world, you would probably be met with a lot of skepticism, right? And I think the same is true today with deep learning and artificial intelligence. Simply because it's not yet widely deployed, so it may seem difficult to believe that it's about to change everything. But make no mistake, AI is coming, right? And so if you look at the moment when the internet went mainstream, so you see that a lot of business models were disrupted. And a lot of companies had to either reinvent themselves or die, like many retailers, book shops, DVD sales and whatnot. And so the same is about to happen with artificial intelligence, right? And it's except there's one difference. It's going to happen on a much larger scale. So it's not just going to disrupt some business models, like truck drivers, for instance. So of course, truck driving is going to be automated, but that's just like one small part of the picture. It's going to touch every job. It's going to impact every business model, and even beyond business and jobs, it's going to touch every aspect of our lives, not just business and jobs, but culture and art. Like I see lots of people talking about the big threat of AI is going to be job automation, but there's just like one small part of the picture. We also need to talk about how it's going to disrupt culture, right? And maybe it seems insane to say it now because there is very little today to substantiate these claims, but if you wait 10 years, it won't seem so insane anymore. In the future, most cultural content, like stories and movies and music, is generated by AI, right? Or generated with the assistance of AI. So it's going to change everything. It's going to change what it means to be human. And so a lot of the possibilities and opportunities that exist in the world today will change or disappear. Like I'm talking about job opportunities, business opportunities, career opportunities. So I know a lot of you are students, so you should care about career opportunities, right? And so they're going to disappear because we are going to automate all the jobs. And then they are going to be replaced with a new world of opportunities. And I think broader and more exciting opportunities because AI is about to make all these things possible that were not possible before. So don't just think, for instance, just not AI for self-driving cars, but AI for anything. Like think AI doing scientific research, AI doing art. Literally every domain of human activity. There will not be a new AI industry. So instead, AI is going to be in every industry. AI is going to be in every application, right? In every aspect of our lives. And so, this is something that's really important because all these opportunities are going to disappear and be replaced with new, more exciting opportunities. It's really our job and your job as early adopters of deep learning and AI. It's your job to make sure that the opportunities that AI creates are accessible to everyone. To make sure that deep learning technology is open and the opportunities that we create are accessible. And if you look at the previous technological revolution, which was the internet, just a few years ago, right? So it turns out things went pretty well. So today's internet is not owned by AOL, right, or by any single company. And today it's very easy for anyone, like literally anyone, with just basic computer science literacy, to start a business online, start a website, start a blog, right? It's really easy. And so basically the world that the internet created is this world where individuals are empowered with knowledge, with the power to create things and solve problems. And we should really not take it for granted that the same thing is going to happen with the AI revolution. It's really our job to make sure that something similar happens, to make sure that AI technology is open, and to make sure that the opportunities created by AI technology are accessible to everyone. So it's our job, it's your job as Keras community members, as early adopters of AI. Okay. And so making sure that these opportunities are accessible, it's not going to happen if you need to be an expert in order to use deep learning technology, right? Like if you need a deep understanding of the mathematical background of deep learning algorithms in order to use them, if you need advanced knowledge to apply deep learning solutions to the problems that you have, then it's not accessible. It's very exclusive, right? So that's not what we want. And so that's where Keras comes in. So what's Keras? It's two things. So first, it's a tool, it's a framework, and second, it's a community. So it's you guys. And so it's this tool. It's a Python framework that allows you to define machine learning models with this very simple user interface, so very user-friendly. So it was started just last year. It was the first deep learning framework that was really easy to use. So just 1 year, one and a half year ago, it was actually really difficult to solve problems using deep learning, right? You needed to use frameworks that were really advanced, that required expert knowledge, like Torch, for instance. And so Keras really changed that. And so the purpose of Keras, the reason it was started, and the reason we're working on it today, is to make deep learning technology accessible. So to package deep learning algorithms, deep learning solutions to problems, really, in a way that anybody with basic computer science literacy can use. And so let's just remember, so in the future, most people have basic computer science literacy, right? It's a new literacy. So this is going to be as many people as possible being able to use deep learning. So being able to identify problems that they have, things they want to solve, questions they want answered, some things they want to create, and they're just able to take deep learning technology and apply it and get solutions without, any big technological barrier, any big knowledge barrier. So, and because Keras was really easy to use, was the first framework that was really easy to use, started at a time where deep learning was booming. Like there's exponential interest in deep learning. Like, more and more people are getting drawn to it because they can see the potential it has. So they can identify problems that they have, that they want to solve, maybe businesses they want to start, and identify how deep learning can help them get there, right? And so because it was easy to use, it got very widely adopted very fast. So today we have between 30 and 40,000 Keras users. So we have a large community. So there are dozens of companies using Keras, hundreds of researchers, thousands of students. So it goes from you guys at Open School to startups here in San Francisco, in Soma, in Silicon Valley, bigger companies like Yelp in Soma, for instance, is using Keras, or even physicists at the LHC at CERN in Switzerland using Keras models to analyze their experimental data. So lots of people are using Keras because it's really the first framework that makes it possible for non-experts to start leveraging deep learning. Okay, so that's really the purpose of Keras. That's the vision. It's we are going to make artificial intelligence more accessible. We are going to make it open to everyone, to as many people as possible. And so to conclude, I'd like to say a few words about what the next steps are for Keras. So for Keras, the framework, and for Keras, the community. So for the framework, it's simple. So next week, we have a big release scheduled. It's a big milestone. It's Keras 1.0. So the first major upgrade, when there have been a few significant upgrades in the past, but this one is a total rewrite of the code base. So it's even easier to use, even better user experience, even more powerful. So you guys are going to love it. And when it comes to the community, so you guys, and this involves everyone here, I think as a community, we need to do a better job of making sure that we can popularize deep learning. So this involves explaining deep learning concepts. This involves creating tutorials to explain how to solve problems using deep learning. This involves creating demo applications of what you can do to inspire people. And so Keras is a blog located at blog.keras.io. And this blog has a repository on GitHub, and it accepts pull requests. So if you have an idea for an article you want to write about deep learning, about Keras, a tutorial you want to write, you can send pull requests to the repository. And we will review it, we'll give you feedback, and eventually it will get published on the blog. It will get lots of readers. So this is a pretty good occasion for you to be part of this big push to popularize deep learning, because it's not enough to just provide the tools, to just provide the framework. We must also provide the knowledge. And it's our responsibility, right? So let's all be part of this big push to popularize deep learning, to make it more open and accessible. That's really what's in for us for the next few years. So, okay, I'm done.
François, maybe to move to the next talk, can we just provide some more information about why now online is how many people on the Keras framework community? Approximately.
Keras has between 30 and 40,000 users. So people who are active in development, there are over 100 people who are occasionally active with Keras development. We also have a Slack channel with over 100 people. So I suggest, if you're not already on the Slack channel, you join it. And if you know anybody who's interested in deep learning, or anybody who would be interested in deep learning, don't hesitate to point them to our community, to invite them. Like, we need as many people as possible.
And who can join our community online on Slack mainly? Is there only developers, or can we invite?
Keras is not just for developers. It's really for anyone with an interest in deep learning, and it's really so the purpose is really to make it as easy as possible to get started. So you do not need to be a developer. If you are not, then it's okay. I mean, you will learn to be, right? Anyway, you will learn how to start using it to solve your own problems. So, like, don't think you need to be an expert in anything. That's really not the point.
And maybe if you got friends who are artists or people who are not in deep learning and they've got some ideas and they want to join, really,
designers,
every people, because really the goal of the Keras Slack is really to be the place where people can meet, exactly as like the coffee machine, and it's where magic happens. And maybe we will see a lot of startups who will born from our community in a few months and a few years. You know, at the end of the day, we've got a lot of engineers who are really aware about deep learning, and we need to have maybe people who got idea who want to solve problems clearly, and join us directly in the community. And if you can, each one online, why not? And you here in real life, just invite one person to come with us, and after we will continue and continue. And in some months, we will be enough to touch everyone in the world. And we will continue to have meetups here, but please don't hesitate to create meetups in any other place, in Paris, in Brussels, in China, Tokyo, whatever place. Create meetups about that. It's not just us. Everyone can do this kind of things. Yes, and don't hesitate to try to touch us online on the Slack. François answers each time. And I know you questions a lot of them, and we are really easy to touch. And another, maybe last question about the blog. How people, imagine I want to write an article. I say, okay, I want maybe to write an article, but I don't know what I can write. And if people want to engage, what can be the process? Is there any process they can contact us to have an idea about the topic?
Sure. I mean, if you're interested in contributing, in writing an article, or just being part of the process, just get in touch on the Slack channel and we'll talk about it and we'll guide you through the process. Don't hesitate to ask questions. We'll give you, all the help you need. We have community. Actually, we're not a commercial enterprise. We're not a startup or a company. We're really a community like this. No money involved. We're really doing it to build a community.
So it's not Google.
It's not Google. I am not here in a official quality as a Google employee. No.
It's really not Google. It's not Facebook. It's not Nvidia.
It's bigger than any single company. Yeah. And it's really also about making sure that deep learning is not exclusive to any single company. That deep learning technology is used at more than just Facebook and Google, right? We want everyone to be able to use it. In much the same way that today, anyone can just fire up a text editor and create a website, right?
And one of our discussion we had in the car when we came here was about the community is ready to let you exchange. It's not a place to try to hire people. We really want that we can have as like a fair rules together. You are here to share knowledge. Mainly, that's really the goal of the community. Share knowledge together.
Okay.
Thank you, François.
Thank you. So
Thank you for your work.
thank you for being here. And next up we have Fabien telling us about his experience getting into deep learning.
Mine will switch to microphone. Maybe to be. François, come with us. Maybe we can take some seats. And really, the idea is to have an open discussion and just to provide you the context about that. Fabien is a friend of us, of François and me, and you will explain what's your past and your history.
Yeah.
And you will explain to us how you moved and in how many times with Keras technology or whatever other deep learning technology, how you move to this new area. Can you present yourself?
Sure. So I'm Fabien. I'm a software engineer, C# developer. So until 3 months ago, maybe I was like 100% Microsoft guy. I used to work for Microsoft also 6 years ago, 7 years ago. I was completely Microsoft oriented guy, and it started to go down. And after talking to Gregory a lot in the past, I started realizing that deep learning is machine learning to start, and then deep learning is the way to go if you want to solve problems. The idea also for the Keras community, I think, is, as François said, to make deep learning as easy as creating a website. And François, I think, in my opinion, did an amazing job for that. So switching from C# and Visual Studio to an Ubuntu machine with PyCharm and writing with Python, you made my job much easier. So how did I start deep learning? First, I started with machine learning, more general, learning with sklearn, and to do that I work on some project on Kaggle. There is a very fun one right now is the BNP, the bank BNP, and then when you start to...
I remember we had some exchange Saturdays and about what you was doing, and I just tried to show you the path.
Exactly.
I didn't do anything because really the goal, just to explain you, Fabien was a lab for us. And he was not aware about that, but really the goal was to see how a traditional developers, object programming developers, can move quickly in the area of machine learning and understand what are the steps and how you can move to this one. And let's continue on the Kaggle stuff you did.
Yeah, so the thing I did is the Kaggle for BNP is I created a lot of algorithms, different algorithms, because I didn't know, I don't have a data scientist degree. So I created different algorithms, reading a lot, different blogs, but only with machine learning stuff. I did it, for me, I did for a very first career, I did a very good job. I am in the probably 2/3 of the results. So for first shot, it's pretty good for me. And then I tried at work as a side project to create a bot that you can talk to and answer the question about the product we are building. So basically, the system is reading your documentation of the product, and then you can ask him the question, like, what is the port number for this service? And the system will be able to read the dog and grab the information that you need and give you the answer. So that's where deep learning is start to get on my way. And
what was the different components you deployed on your server or on your machine, mainly for this sample?
So I started with an Ubuntu machine, then follow the Keras tutorial to install the different components that you need, which is pretty much nothing. To install Keras, you just need to install Keras pretty much.
You need to install. So the thing with Keras is it can run either on top of Theano or TensorFlow. So you need to install either of these. So you can think of them as like engines to run the Keras interface. And so both are fairly easy to install, so they are pre-packaged, at least on Ubuntu. So it's just like one command line.
Okay, and maybe a question about that. Right now we've got Theano, TensorFlow. Do we plan to have more framework at the time as like framework for Microsoft? Because we know that it's you've got the open source Microsoft Word, and how we can unify them.
Absolutely. So right now we're seeing a lot of competitions between the different major companies. Like everyone is releasing a deep learning framework. But the thing is, with all these deep learning frameworks, like TensorFlow and CNTK from Microsoft, TensorFlow from Google, and others as well, you see that they are really low level. So they are really targeted experts at very advanced engineers with already pre-existing knowledge of deep learning, with already an understanding of what assembly computation graph is and so on. And so you see a lot of technological advances because this competition is very productive, obviously. And but it's not advances that are made available to the general public. Like you really need to be an expert in order to study them. And so what Keras does is provide a common interface to all these things. And right now it's Theano and TensorFlow. But in the future, we definitely do plan on adding support for more frameworks, like for instance CNTK from Microsoft, or MXNet, or Neon from Neon Systems. So many different other engines that Keras is going to be able to run on. So providing this easy to use, this great user experience.
And in this point of view, Francois, just to help more object programming developers, do we plan to maybe at the time to have some directly GitHub project that you can download to solve a particular problem? And you remember our discussion we had in the car about a particular text classification in real time, mainly for dynamics data online from social network, these kind of things. Do we have already some projects like that, or can we just invite people to join us and try to create this type of project?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think so. To do a good job with Keras, we need to do more than just providing the framework itself, just providing the tool, because the tool is just a potential for something. So we also need to provide pre-packaged applications. So something that you can just download and start running, whether it be a solution for image classification, text classification, question answering, text clustering. Basically, any classical, I would say, machine learning problem you might have. Because when we do this, what happens is that people will just need a quick solution to a problem they have. They're going to download it, plug it into the system, and but then if they want to modify it, they will actually read the source code, understand how it works, and then they will get into deployment, right? So we need to provide applications to get people started and to inspire people, to show them, the potential of technology. So, and that's really something that we want to push and want more Dutch prepackaged application, more Dutch demos. So if you have been working on one, or if you plan on starting work on one, don't hesitate to submit it to us, and we'll make it available.
Yeah, really don't hesitate if you got a project, contact us. And really the idea is to be not only a community to share knowledge, but to help you to be more visible about your project, what you are doing. You are the hero of the community. It's not Francois, it's not me, it's not one person, it's everyone who can come and with an incredible project and to share the knowledge directly.
Absolutely. So let me tell you about one thing that happened a few weeks ago, and I think it was a great example. So as part of the Keras repository, there was an example script about neural style transfer. So some of you guys already know what neural style transfer is. And basically, it's a deep learning algorithm that allows you to take two pictures, so one which is a style reference and one which is subject, and transfer the style, subjective style of the style reference picture to a new subject. For instance, you can have a photo of yourself and then a painting, and you can transfer the style of the painting to this photo. And so there's some guy who took this script and we modified it, very extensive modifications actually, to do something different. So it's called image analogies, right? And it was a really remarkable project. Like, he did a great job. And so we pushed his work, right? We give this guy exposure, and it went pretty much viral. So you got something like 3,000 GitHub at this point. That happened in just a couple of weeks. So this is really what we want to see more of. We want to create applications that will inspire other people, and then when these other people come up with something, we want to make them succeed, right? We want to give them exposure. We want to, because so the goal is really to this community benefits everyone, right? So this is really an opportunity for you to get started building cool stuff and then get exposure for what you're doing.
And why not? This project is directly downloaded from samples in Keras community, and it's very easy to access. This one?
Yeah.
Okay. Another question. Thank you, Francois. Another question for you, Fabian. I'm a simple developer. I want to say simple developer. I'm not a machine learning developer, sorry about that. And I want to move in deep learning stuff. If I want to do that at my home, and without a support of a company who can pay about GPU or clone machine, what's the budget approximately? What you spent to move on this one and to learn? Because I know you learn a lot during nights and weekends.
Yeah.
And I know that you was really invest and you put some budget on the table to move on it. Yes.
So I started to, I bought a new computer without a graphic card for like $600-700 maybe. Just all the components and put it all together by myself. And then I bought an NVIDIA 980 Ti for $600 on eBay. And so for, let's say, $1,200, I got a very good machine for deep learning. Otherwise, if you don't have the budget, I would say Amazon has very good machines. It costs about 65 cents an hour. It's very good to start with. And they have VMs already with everything pre-installed. You just probably have to install maybe Chiano and maybe TensorFlow and Keras, which is 2 lines of code of command script.
So,
and that's it.
So one thing you can do also, the website Kyle.com, so the competition website, so they provide Docker images with a bunch of machine learning packages pre-installed, and Keras is one of them. So if you want to get started quickly on AWS, like you start a GPU instance and you can just run that script and it will install everything for you.
Also, NVIDIA provides a Docker with CUDA already installed, which is a lot of work if you don't have to install it by yourself. It took me 2 hours, 3 hours to install it on my own computer. But with the Docker provided by NVIDIA, it would take like 5 minutes.
Yeah. Alison will maybe explain us a little bit more about that and NVIDIA and
Well, I can
type. Yeah.
very quickly say now. Yeah, even if you're completely at the beginning, you can simply Google NVIDIA deep learning and it'll come up with the deep learning courses that we offer. The introduction to deep learning is completely free, but what you're essentially doing is going onto AWS and using Jupyter and IPython notebook to execute code on the GPUs that are currently in AWS. Now, they're actually only right now 2.2 gigaflop cards, but they are upgrading. They have actually already upgraded the estate, but it's not gone to public release yet. So that's going to happen in the next couple of months. So you'll be getting sort of K40 grade and above, as opposed to 2.2 gigaflops, which isn't that much. But it's enough to actually execute. And Python notebooks are very simple. It's simply Control Enter to execute the code, and you can change it in the cells. If you're not familiar with any of that, don't worry, because there's a tutorial even on the IPython notebooks. The introduction is completely free, and then there is also a class on Digits, which is the visualization software, and 3 classes on Caffe, Theano, and Torch, so you can pretty much make your own choice of a framework. That's because we didn't know about Keras when we actually did this. This all went live, over 6 months ago, actually. And I actually did the Torch course because that was, the framework of my choice. But Francois is actually about to review our NLP offering, which is based on Keras, and he's going to review that before it then goes live. And everything apart from the introductory to deep learning course is, as Fabian said, about 67 cents an hour, I think AWS charges, so it's tiny. However, I'm quite happy to provide free credits, if anybody wants to, and I'm pretty sure in going forward, our link with Holberton anyway, we may make the whole thing free. But again, this is just introduction, and we're quite happy to add. We've actually added a stack load more because we just had GTC as well, so there's lots of labs online.
And
I was gonna slide in something. There's a service called Domino. If you don't feel like, starting your own boxes on Amazon, but you want to have a nice interface doing that for you without you thinking about it, then you can log into Domino. And it will charge you a little bit more than Amazon, but like not significantly. So it's pretty good. So you can start a GPU box, and you can run either notebook or scripts through their Java command line thingy. But notebooks are pretty nice.
So that was Domino.
Domino, yes.
I haven't heard of that. It actually all runs on something called Quick Labs, which it's actually, I think it's a family member of one of our VPs actually, who actually runs Quick Labs. It's not an NVIDIA setup, but it's a really good way of just having a simple, easy teaching tool. But I haven't heard of Domino, thanks.
I think that maybe we can start a channel on the Slack to share this kind of tips and tricks together.
But yeah, they're available to anyone right now.
Yes.
I was wondering, so this is if I have like heavy deep learning applications, but if I just want to play around on a simple problem just to get to know the frameworks, what is the problem that I can still solve without a graphic card, and what is the problem that I need a graphic card for?
Well,
So
I was going to say MNIST, you probably do need a graphic card, and that's only 70,000 images, but
Yeah, absolutely. So it really depends. So if you're running with Theano, for instance, anything that involves convolution networks is going to require a graphics card. But if you instead you are using TensorFlow, then they have this really good convolution implementation CPU. So you could run a deep neural net with Keras on top of TensorFlow just on CPU, when provided that you have a big CPU with medical mass. So in general, if you have a lot of data, you're definitely going to want to run a GPU. for a small data set like MNIST or a data set of maybe I'm thinking of like the AMDB data set, which is like a few tens of thousands of movie reviews. But these type of small problems, which are frequently the problem that startups or small businesses encounter. It's fairly there's not a lot of data, so this kind of problem you can definitely solve it on CPU. But if you're looking at anything bigger or anything that involves pictures or sound, then yes, you want a GPU, even maybe a cluster of GPUs.
Also, you can do most of the Keras that are not based on images or sounds or anything like that. You can do most of them on the CPU.
Okay, maybe a last question before moving to Alison. How many time you spent to arrive at your first result? Really, the idea is to speak about, is it easy or not to go, how many it cost, what's the budget, but not only the budget as money, but what's the time investment?
Since it's not my day job to do that, it was only night and weekends. I would say, so first I had to learn Python, but since I've been programming for more than 15 years now, that was pretty easy. So in a couple of weeks, maybe a week, you can build your first Python application very easily. I think in less than a month, I had a first result on the Kaggle project in less than a month.
Okay.
Maybe a couple of weekends, but no more than that.
Yeah, it was not so painful to move on it?
No. It's pretty easy. Just don't expect to have the best results if you start. At the end of the weekend, you won't be the number one, but at least you learn something, and the more you do the program, the more you understand what was the keys. And from what I understand, the algorithms are pretty much all the same all the time. What's very, very important is your data. And pre-processing your data is the most important part of that job.
So one thing I'm curious about is when getting started with Keras, is there any difficulty you encountered, any problem you faced? Because so we really want to make the onboarding experience, the user experience as good as possible. So if there's anything, please tell us.
So from my experience, the most difficult part was switching from Windows to Ubuntu. Honestly, that was the most difficult part.
On that front, one thing you can definitely do is provide Docker images like Keras does. Maybe that helps. Or just very precise installation instructions.
Yeah. And maybe in this part, I know that you are working on some personal project, and don't explain too early about that, but you are working on the implementation with Microsoft Word, Ubuntu World, and is it really complicated to do that?
So no, it's pretty easy to merge the two worlds, because I have an algorithm that runs on an Ubuntu machine, written in Python, that involves some deep learning stuff in it. This machine is completely isolated, and then because I'm a C# developer, I build all the front end and everything on the website using the Microsoft World. But it's pretty easy to make the two worlds communicating with each other, because you have technologies like the queue system. It's very easy. REST API to call one world or another.
Okay.
Can I ask
Thank you. Yes.
Can I just ask you,
Go ahead.
have you tested the new bash shell?
I won't test it until it's final, because
Okay, because they announced it, yeah.
they announced it. It's public since yesterday. So Bash on Windows. I haven't tried it yet, because my experience recently with new Microsoft product has been pretty bad. Like just the Visual Studio from last week, final release, the last update. It's not finished yet, so I don't even want to try yet the public version.
Yeah, the only reason I say is because when I first joined NVIDIA, the hardest thing for me was going from Ubuntu back to Windows. So it was just really, really difficult. But when I saw that, I literally tweeted it. It's kind of like, you know, Ubuntu's taking over the world. It was like an assimilation thing of the Borg. It was like a really cool move.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. They should ship the final version this summer. So.
Okay, it's a work in progress, and we really need to help everyone to move to deep learning as easy as possible. Thank you, Fabien, for your feedback, and congratulations for your move from programming object to machine learning and deep learning. Congratulations.
Thank you, François, also thank you, François, also for building Keras, because you make things so much easier to do your first project.
Thank you.
So, okay, so now I think Alison is going to present
Once I
this.
turn off Google Maps, yeah.
Okay.
That's still direct.
So just maybe a quick survey before we move on to the next presentation. So how many of you are currently experimenting with deep learning, are building your own deep learning applications? Okay, so that's maybe half the people. So how many want to get started now? Yeah. Everybody else. Okay. So I'll pass the mic to Alison.
Thank you very much. Okay. So, shall I move that? Somebody want to sit in there? Or? No, there's people sort of over at the back. So thank you very much, and it's wonderful to be here. I've been talking to Greg for quite some time about Holberton, and was lucky enough to meet Chris and Trev at our GTC this week, and it's really amazing to actually be here, but also in San Francisco, because I'm a total tourist, and as soon as we're kind of done here, and my colleague Rachel is also here. Rachel covers the grid side of business at NVIDIA. But personally, I'm deep learning solutions architect for what we call EMEA, so that's Europe, Middle East and Africa. But because it's deep learning, it's kind of obliterated even titles, because deep learning is the whole planet. It's everything. It's not one vertical, it's every vertical. It's not one industry. It's every industry. It's not one walk of life. It's everything. So I generally travel all over the place, which is really quite cool. But the second part of my role is community manager. And again, that was titled as for EMEA, but it's pretty much worldwide. Although I do have a counterpart here in HQ, which is Santa Clara. So I'm going to be as brief as I can, bearing in mind that as it says here, if we can flick that up again, because it's, the problem here is I've literally hijacked Jensen's keynote slides, and I don't know if you saw Jensen's rock show keynote, but basically the slides were designed for a Powerwall that was about 3 miles wide. So yeah, unfortunately it's come up pretty small, but that's quite good, because I'm not going to do the sales pitch side. I don't do sales, I'm community manager. But one thing I do want to say is that, as I've written there in red, Alison hijacking Jensen's slides, the one thing that is absolutely crucial in everything that you do from today going forward is that you make it about you. There are actually thousands sort of piling on board this new phenomenon, and as Jensen calls it, a new computing model. It is just a complete paradigm shift from what we've been doing before deep learning. And there's so many people jumping on board this, but the real crucial thing is your input, your personality into your coding, your personality and your take on what and how you want to impact using deep learning. And I actually see so many, I'm very, very lucky in the role that I've got, because I see deep learning providing a solution in pretty much every single application you could think of, and some that you wouldn't have even thought of for, you know. And literal meat process graphic. And I'm also advising CERN. So it kind of goes from just ridiculous extremes. It really is across the board. So I'm going to run through these, and a lot of them, I'm actually going to sit down if you don't mind, because I prefer conversation to presentation. I'm going to run through a lot of these because there are quite a few salesy type things, and I'd rather give you the highlights. So Jensen started by giving an indication of this leap in adoption, but I think you all know just how sort of impressively, ridiculously insane the jump with deep learning has been. There's so many different versions, and he then went on to sort of give this 5-thing talk. But what we've actually done is we've incorporated everything we know into what they're now calling the NVIDIA SDK. So because it's revolutionizing pretty much every industry and every offering that NVIDIA have, bearing in mind, we are still a gaming company. We are still that startup mentality, and that's the really cool thing, even though NVIDIA has grown so much. Gaming is still about 50% of our business, but deep learning is taking over pretty much everything. What I've seen at GTC this week is a whole stack of crossovers, between our VR work, virtual reality work with deep learning, with auto self-driving cars with deep learning, VR with auto self-driving cars, and I'll give you a quick overview. But so we've now called the whole thing NVIDIA SDK to try and give you an idea, and I'll just run through a few of those things. GameWorks, obviously, as I said, we're still a gaming company, so they have GameWorks. We have ComputeWorks, which is essentially all the deep learning that you need. So we are about to release CUDA 8, so it's still 7.5 at the moment. CUDA 8 is going to have a whole load of new stuff. It's really cool. QDNN 5, when I first started getting into deep learning, we were only at CUDA 1, and that was about a year ago. I've literally only sort of been in this for about a year. But going from 1 to 5 in a software package of the sort of size and the amount of different libraries and functionality in QDNN is just unprecedented. And I know the people who literally do all the work, for QDNN, and it's 24/7, just trying to keep up with deep learning. And it's basically researchers that we work with, which is pretty much everyone, asking, and we will do alignment things to find out, what's working, what isn't working, and we just sort of reassess. So the fact that we're on 5 now, I think early access is about to end, if not yesterday it ended. So MV Graph is really cool. Graph analytics, when you're talking about big data, is just necessary. It's as simple as that. We really struggled. You literally can't do SQL queries anymore. I mean, I think everybody's well aware of that. But MV Graph and colleagues of mine have been working on this quite a lot, and that's about to be rolled out. I don't think it will be June. I think it'll be before that. And then there's lots of other things that link in with VR and iRay, which I don't know that much about. Rachel could possibly tell you, but we're here for deep learning. So DesignWorks, and then NVIDIA DriveWorks, which is obviously the self-driving cars. We already had pretty much every automotive manufacturer sort of on board because we were doing infotainment and the actual displays and things like that using GPUs. So it was just a natural translation that now they're all working with us, or rather we're working with them for this transition that we're currently making into self-driving cars. And by self-driving, I mean that is going to be a step change in levels of autonomy. There's no way we're just going to jump to the car doing everything. It will be a step up from cruise control, or what you guys have here with ADAS. I think it's different back home in the UK. So DriveWorks is the full functionality of that. And we had a whole stack of demos at GTC, if anybody got to see those. Jetpack is the TX1. This is the small embedded side. TX1 is basically the size of a credit card, and I think we're going to enable you guys here at Holberton with a few TX1s, so you can do some really cool prototyping and for some really great projects. So with things like drones, but also there's people using them on swarm robotics, which is really tiny sort of drones, and using the TX1 as the master sending out all the slave sort of drones. There's some really cool projects going on. I work with Oxford University a lot. Obviously, I'm from Britain, so I work here. And they've got some really cool projects coming on with students. So Jetpack is the full online ecosystem. At the moment, there isn't enough people to cover it, so all the support and all the libraries are available online. VR works. We've done a whole lot more for virtual reality. That's just accelerated itself, forgive the pun. So Oculus Rift and HTC Vive had some just amazing VR demos, and I actually did the Everest one, so this was Jansen's first part, and again, I'm sort of making this a lot swifter than his 2-hour keynote. Then he went on to obviously talk the start of this new platform, but again, what he meant by that is this step change, not only for our point of view. We were a gaming company, and then we obviously had software to go alongside that, and a hardware company, but now it's a full platform. Although there's also now been another change to that, but I'll get to it. So he then gave a demo of Everest, and I actually got to do this with I don't know if you know New Scientist magazine, but I took the reporter in there. I actually used him just so I could get to the front of the queue and get the demo, and it's just so freaky. You know, I'm sure you all, or how many people have actually had a VR experience? Okay, all right. I mean, it's just amazing because you.
Did you step off the edge?
We thought about that after we actually came out, to be honest. I mean, I kind of know what happens if you do that, but you just cannot make your brain do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was ridiculous. I was just literally like that. I was not scared. I don't want to fall off, you know, and I really thought I was actually going to fall off. But you cannot convince your brain otherwise, even though you know you're on a carpeted floor. You know, it's really bizarre. And this is really going to revolutionise sort of everything, because you can imagine having, you know, I can imagine speaking to my kids now, you know, with a VR headset, and they're sort of right in front of me, even though they're back in the UK, you know, and it's just so much of a massive step change to even Skype, something like that. You know, the VR experience will really change everything, and that's happening now. It's really incredible. And then he I don't know if you heard, but he got Steve Wozniak to actually, you know, dial in and do the Mars experience sort of right there in front of everybody. So that was fairly cool. And iRate VR, I'm just going to flick through this. This is really incredible. I did it a little bit of training. I don't normally cover this, but again, there's so many crossovers now between deep learning and what we call iRate, which is this photorealistic side. And I even tweeted about this during the training that, you know, commercial photographers, their days really are numbered. It's incredible what we can now do with GPU visualization, as well as, you know, the actual compute side. That was just a demo that he gave of our new build. And I'm going to, again, skip right through this. So Jensen went on to talk about the amazing year in AI, and, you know, I know that because, you know, I joined in sort of June, and even since June, it's been just an incredible. I can literally do a 15-hour day, and, you know, do you understand the concept of flow? Being in that psychological state of flow, where you're just so into something that time just sort of passes you by. And I up to now, my worst is 12 hours. And that's literally my kids coming into my office at home and saying, do you realise you haven't eaten anything yet? And I'm just so sort of wrapped up in this. It's kind of like been in a state of flow since I joined NVIDIA, because this field is just so amazing. And you will find that the more you actually get into it. So he was describing, and you know, I'm sure you're all aware of this, a new computing model. It's a new way of looking at doing compute. Big opportunity. I'm not going to go into numbers or anything like that. Hyperscalers basically are sort of offering to the big guys, the really big data guys, where we actually have the M40 card now has 24 gig on board, and this is currently available now. Pascal, which I'll get to in a minute, has been launched, but it's going to be such a premium because it's such high demand for it that people sort of here won't be able to get hold of it probably until the end of the year, but we do have Maxwell. But Maxwell, the M40, which is his standard sort of size server card, about this big, has a little counterpart called the M4, which is third quarter of the size actually, and it's also a third quarter, can't remember the specifics, of the footprint. So obviously when you're talking about Facebook or a Google-sized data center, it really does make a difference if you can have a card that is only 50 to 75 watts. So this is what we mean by hyperscale. Jensen went on to talk about DG GAN, so generative adversarial networks. But I want to tell you this, and I want you to sort of really make a note of this and Google the hell out of it. Svi Akler, I met Svi and his counterpart Ed Fernandez literally 2 days ago. They have what I believe is a very profound new way of doing deep learning. And I don't want to confuse everyone by going into that now, but have a look at it. They are literally bootstrapping the company. They've called it Optimizing Mind. And we even have skeptics within NVIDIA because there's such a dramatic change to what we know. And it's very, very close to neuroscience. And I don't know how many of you have actually sort of looked into the neuroscience side. Demis Hassabis of DeepMind, obviously PhD in neuroscience, and he ran with part of that and went down the path of reinforcement learning. That is still a feed-forward network. But I'm going to leave it there. I don't want to confuse you, but this is really an impressive and very possibly profound way of doing deep learning. So when you get a chance, not now, just give me another 15 minutes or so, look it up and maybe discuss that, because you're doing projects today and you're starting today. So this may be quite a difference for you. Svi Akler, he's quite an amazing guy. Okay, so yeah, this is what we did. We finally launched Pascal P100. First off, it will only have 16 gig on board. It will then go to 32 gig on board. But Pascal is just, and everything else that comes with Pascal is going to dramatically change. It's the architecture has been a work in progress for the past 3 years. There's been a whole lot of time and development gone into the actual architecture. So 16 nanometers we're now at for chip architecture. The HBM is just high bandwidth memory. That's going to make a lot of difference for the actual communications going on inside with the passing data to the individual cores. NVLink is going to dramatically increase GPU to GPU. And also if you're using IBM power systems, it's exactly the same to go from GPU to CPU. So that's going to speed up everything. And again, it's all about, GPUs are great, obviously, at maths. Everybody knows that. But it's the iterative acceleration that really helps you guys. You can literally get to an algorithm, test it, and come out of the test or abort. You can just have that step change in iterative progression and improvement of your own work so much quicker, and it improves workflow so much quicker. We all know sort of when you used to have to wait 2 weeks to do a huge sort of workflow, and now it's only 2 hours or something. That really does make a difference if you can bring that down to half an hour, where you literally just go to the kitchen, get a cup of coffee while your sort of work run is happening, and then you can actually get to it. Just the actual production workflow is incredible. But you'll learn more about that, I'm sure, with many, many more. There's been giant leaps in everything. So 3 times compute, 3 times bandwidth, etc. It's really a cool chip. But as I said, it's at premium. We've had some pretty major supercomputing wins, actually, and it's pretty much taken everything that we've got at the moment. So it'll be about the end of the year before it becomes publicly available. In between, that's why we brought out M40 with 24 gig on board. And that's a really excellent card. But this is server grade. There's many other offerings. K80 is double precision if you need the accuracy, for example. K80 is still a great card. And I personally did my research on K40, which is again, perfectly ample. Even GeForce is perfectly ample for development. You know, Tinex, we always say it's a great card for development. Deployment side, you want to go to Tesla because it's built for intense 24/7 training. And M just stands for Maxwell, K is Kepler. So you can't read that because unfortunately there isn't a 3-mile wide power wall, but that's just a close-up of the actual chip. And as I said, there's been some pretty incredible activity with Pascal, so it'll be Q1 17, possibly December, when Pascal's fully available. So then Jensen moved on to talk about deep learning, and then came up with this baby, which is, you know, really, really cool. So DGX, Deep Green Accelerator, they just thought that sounded okay. DGX1, this is 170 teraflops in a box. It's really significant in the fact that, I'm going to skip forward because, again, you can't see it too well. You know, this is the inside of it. DGX1 is just, sorry about the sizing here, but 170 teraflops, 768 gigabyte per second. AlexNet training on CPU, I think that's 150 hours now, down to 2 hours. So that's AlexNet, which is probably one of the best models to actually work with, depending on the application. It's equivalent, as they did the maths, obviously, it's equivalent to 250 servers, and it's just in one box. But what's even more amazing, and I don't, as I said, I don't do the sales side, 12 times speed up in 1 year, that's good enough. But I'm going to skip here. Baidu did a quick presentation online to sort of go fully in depth into how NVLink and Pascal, etc. went on. Again, I'm going to skip here because then Google came on to explain a bit more about RNNs. And TensorFlow, you know, that was TensorFlow who actually came on board. So what Jensen came up with, and our business unit, is just 129,000. Now that seems a big number, but when you compare that to 250 servers, which is probably about $5 million, and this is the kind of grade they've basically offered this, and this is a step change that I mentioned earlier. We were a platform company prior to this keynote on Wednesday. This is the first time that NVIDIA have sold anything directly. So this will be our first sort of direct product that's going to go out. And obviously automotive or hospitals, for example, there's a whole load of, there's a huge revolution going on in medical imaging, which is helping healthcare. So where you've got the visualization capability of a GPU and the compute visibility capability in the same thing. And so this is just perfect for them. Obviously to us, you know, I don't have $130,000, but for the big players in the market, this is definitely going to be a step change, because you can literally just get going with deep learning, often with everything that you possibly need on board software-wise, and ready to go. So then he gave away 8 of them on stage, and it's when I actually got the final email, I got a bit teary actually, because I know Jürgen Schmidhuber a lot, and Jürgen's lab at ITSIA was the driving force to my research, because my thesis title was feature recognition using GPU technology. But it was specifically to prove to my supervisor, who didn't believe it at the time, I literally had to fight to do this, that you could use GPUs to help find the tiny microscopic clumping that occurs in something called mitosis, which is just cell division. But when tumors first start to form at this tiny cellular level, can a GPU, can deep learning powered by GPUs pick that up? And yes, it can. My job was made a whole lot easier by the simple fact that ITSIA, which is the Swiss AI team, directed by Jürgen Schmidhuber, was already winning competitions back in 2013 doing this. And this is I don't know if you've heard of MICAI, that's the medical imaging and computing sort of, it's like the NIPS for medical imaging, basically. And they were already winning competitions doing that. So he actually gave away, 10, not 8. He actually gave 10 DGXs away to the top labs, and I think it's 2 for Europe. Yeah, so University of Oxford, which is also DeepMind people, and there's still a big link there, and then the rest going to Canadian and US top researchers. So that was pretty cool. We just gave them away. Then they announced the partnership we've got with MassGen, and this is fairly significant because they're doing some really amazing work, and will be sort of centre of excellence. They're also obviously the centre of clinical data science, and again, this is my driver. This is the reason, the absolute key why I got into deep learning in the first place, and that's this holy grail of personalised healthcare. And deep learning will help us get there, because we're seeing this with IBM Watson, where you can actually pull in so many different modalities as well as types of data, and sync that with your own personal genomic data, and have targeted medicine, targeted diagnosis. So this is really cool. This is going to help. So if you are stuck for ideas for projects, try and sort of go down that medical route, because we need lots of help and people to actually push us towards this amazing thing that will be personalised healthcare. So that's the Tesla family, which for deployment is the ideal way to go. For development for you, I would say TX1, which is the little credit card size 1 teraflop embedded device, or even Titan-X, or whatever you can get your hands on. Fabian mentioned 970, whatever you can actually get your hands on, but I'm working very close with Greg here with Hollerton, so we're going to try and come up with something where you're going to have capability anyway. So that's for the hopefully very near future. I'm working on that. Okay, so that was the 5 things that, that was the 4 things that Jensen wanted to talk about before he actually went into self-driving cars. And I don't have much to do with DriveNet, but I'm sure everybody's aware of what's happening on the roads. It's this step change. So we're doing an absolute ton, and our team managed to get first place on Kitty, which is actually a relatively small data set, but it's a competition a bit like Kaggle, but for driving. And we managed to get to first place just before GTC, which was really cool. So Drive PX, or even PX2 now, is actually a Pascal driven. This is the compute that's going into the cars. And we're going to be going into cars that you're actually well aware of. I don't know if I'm allowed to mention it, but obviously you're very aware of the self-driving cars that are on the road, mainly in the US. So yeah, but DriveNet, and you can look up loads of things. I think there's a white paper on it. Several people have asked me about a white paper, but I'm just waiting on an answer on that. But we've got a blog actually online. So Jensen had quite a few demos that he showed, and then Baidu obviously are doing a whole lot on self-driving compute. They are really the king at sort of the grand scale, the large scale parallel computing. And Brian Catanzaro used to be at NVIDIA, and he went up on stage as well and spoke about this. So that's a very, very cool thing. This is coupled obviously with people like, I'm not even sure who owns here anymore. It used to be Nokia, and then somebody else bought them, and I think possibly Daimler now own them, but I'm not quite sure. But things like here, which is the mapping and the bringing all the geospatial stuff together, and it's all aligning. I'm seeing everything sort of aligning now, so far as self-driving cars. And then he pretty much ended with this, and I'm really I'm quite proud of this, because I sort of pushed this. I found these guys, and it started with a company, I believe it's Kinetic in the UK, but we're actually going to be providing the compute for something called Robo Race, which unfortunately it skips here because it's actually a video of the car, but it's going to be an autonomous car race that's going to, I believe, happen before each F1. I'm not really into Formula One, I'm more into the bike side of racing. But I think it's going to happen before each F1, and it's going to be quite cool. So look up Robo Race. So we're going to do the compute on that, and I'm going to end here. But I'm not. This is so tiny, so I don't know whether you're actually going to be able to see this. Can we skip to straight YouTube? Do you think? Because no, I've got it. I don't know if we actually have audio.
You want to share the video?
It's actually just a YouTube video, so I can actually get a big screen. But,
If you put this in the audio, maybe.
okay, but how do I link to? Just 1 second. How do I link to the?
You just need to play and move on to your screen. Just
Flick it across. Okay. That's my bike, by the way, and that's Nidderdale in North Yorkshire.
maybe on the other side.
There we
Let's
go.
do it.
Okay. Okay, now stop because my slide is down there. Personalised healthcare was the original driver and is still a big part of it. But I have to admit, deep learning and everything that is actually going on. I tell you what, I haven't done internet.
Can you refresh?
One second. I haven't done internet. Right, okay. Can you work out the? Just one sec. Give me 1 second. I'll slide this back over. I can't. Apparently, you guys have got a puzzle for the internet.
Oh, yeah, I can type in the password if you.
Just give me 1 sec. What is the puzzle, by the way? Without giving me
Can you
the.
type the?
Yeah, I can just type it in. It's probably easier.
But what is it? Like a coding puzzle?
Yeah, it's a Ruby script.
Oh right, okay, oh, right. So I've got the chance.
Can you type it directly? Thank you.
Just 1 second.
Maybe during this time, in your slides, you shared us, we saw the price about the big baby.
The
And
green accelerator,
yeah.
the DGX one.
And for the P100, what's the average price?
I have no idea.
You don't have any idea for the moment?
I'm afraid, yeah, I'm not in sales anyway, so.
Okay.
So it's not giving me the, it's not asking for.
Maybe I don't know if you've got any question you can answer during the time we are working on the Wi-Fi access.
Questions about deep learning itself, about the application of deep learning, or about Keras? Yes?
Could you give a very short summary on why GPUs are more useful for deep learning?
So basically, because the type of algorithms that you use in deep learning are very parallelizable. And so you know how the GPU architecture works. So basically, you have a bunch of tiny cores, and they're all running at the same time. So it's very good for this kind of embarrassingly parallel computing.
Matrix multiplication.
Matrix multiplication, yeah.
Why?
Because more cores, more units.
Yeah, if you take the Titan X with a quad core CPU.
Or just for
Quad core means 4 cores, so we're talking 3, 4, even 5,000 cores on a GPU. So it's kind of.
Okay, because matrix multiplication is intrinsically not hard. It's just
It's intrinsically
a lot of them.
parallel.
Yes.
Yeah,
And so
okay.
it's the parallel computation capability when you're going from say 4. I mean, CPU can go to 100. It's the biggest cores.
Is that also
I'm
true
now,
for
about
sparse
128, I
VPCs?
think. Are we doing? Yeah.
Yeah, so it's also through sparse matrices, so you just need different algorithms.
Then we usually map the sparse matrix into another basis set. So it goes through as a sparse matrix can be reduced down.
So just for the record, almost no deep learning application today uses sparse matrices.
Oh, yeah.
So, and so pretty much all deep learning algorithms are running, at the end of the day, they're running on the NVIDIA's cuDNN library, right? So, like, when you guys are going to build a deep learning application, you will use Keras, which will compile into something like TensorFlow, which will compile into CUDA code. So running with cuDNN primitives, which run which compile to bytecode, which run on your GPU, and this is all dense matrices.
Right.
Okay. Lost this again. All right. So I said, yeah, the personalised healthcare is a big driver in what I'm doing, and obviously I see applications across the board. But really, this is what we're all about, and I do believe this is where deep learning is heading us, and this is kind of my soul. I'm hoping we've got audio.
Possibly you could try this, and I'm not really sure, but if you put the USB there, and change the output.
You've got the subtitle, and we can play music.
Too bad we do change that.
Windows.
No.
It's ironic we can do
Just,
but not Wi-Fi.
Maybe no, it's the door.
Okay, maybe you can just Google it.
Yeah, we will share the
Why don't
link
we
on the
use
slide.
the sound of your laptop?
The laptop speakers.
Yeah.
That's a good idea, thank you.
Thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
Can you hear that? Can you hear it?
Sagan, right?
Yes, can I see it?
Invest far-off places with a certain romance. The appeal, I suspect, has been meticulously crafted by natural selection as an essential element in our survival. Long summers, mild winters, rich harvests, plentiful game. None of them lasts forever. Your home life, or your bands, or even your species might be owed to a restless few, drawn by a craving they can hardly articulate or understand, to undiscovered lands and new worlds.
So this was rendered on NVIDIA?
It wasn't so much that, but this is what Steve Wozniak was basically, you know, he had this sort of Mars demo. But there's a couple of reasons why I wanted to show that. One, because this is where my heart and soul is. I know this is being recorded, but Jensen doesn't know this, but I'm setting up a space division. And we'll do, you know, that's kind of like my life. So that's going to happen. But you also saw on there the asteroid, and obviously Shriv knows exactly what we're talking about here, because NASA is currently using or trying to use deep learning to help us detect, classify, and possibly mitigate what's called potentially hazardous asteroids. And this is another project that I'm leading, and that I'm desperately hoping. I don't get to pick the actual Mavericks. It's called Mavericks Lab, and there's been a whole load of buzz about, you know, people applying. There's only 4 space, so I'm really sort of kind of hoping that Shiv's going to get a place on it. And that's happening this week, this summer for 6 weeks. And that's because even entities as large as NASA want to get on board, want to understand how to do this. And they came to actually, it was me right at the beginning that they actually came to through contractors for the Asteroid Grand Challenge and said, we need help. You know, we don't know about this. We really don't have data scientists. So even NASA is looking to this because there is a 2-part to it. Number one, deep learning will help us find these potentially hazardous asteroids. Armageddon, the film, you know, has a real life aspect to it. You know, there is an asteroid heading this way. It won't happen for quite a few, you know, like quite a few decades actually, but we don't fully know what to do about it yet. And we're starting to prepare, you know. Movies happen because people are aware of things, you know, and it does help with awareness, but we're now at the point where we can actually do stuff. Yeah, and I think this is me nicking a line from Armageddon, where, you know, this is the first time in history that we're able to actually do something about something that can potentially, you know, cause Armageddon. And that's deep learning. Deep learning will actually help us with that, as well as everything else that comes with big data and the advances that are happening. But the other reason that I showed you this is because I am an absolute firm believer this is going to happen in our lifetimes. And bearing in mind I'm 45, it will probably happen in my lifetime. Elon Musk has already said he's going to be on Mars in you know, less than a decade anyway. So this is not make-believe, you know, but it is step changes and this just insane exponential growth in our capability in technology. Technologies like deep learning that's going to get us there. So keep watching this. I mean, it's a, you know, pretty cool film by Eric, but Carl's, you know, doing the voiceover there for a simple reason. The Mavericks Lab includes SETI. You know, there's a whole lot of people involved in this project, and it's for them to actually learn how to harness deep learning. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Elisa. Thank you, Elisa. So, a couple of things I had about this short movie. So, one is, in case it might not be immediately clear how deep learning can help us, you know, solve the mysteries of the universe. So, one example is today, right now, at the LHC in Switzerland. This is a Large Hadron Collider, which is like this multi-billion-dollar project. The team is actually using Keras models to analyze particle data from the Atlas detector. So this is one, particle physics is one application of deep learning and specifically the Keras framework. And there are many others. In the future, and it sounds insane right now, again, because there is very little right now to substantiate this claims, but in 10 years or 15 years, it won't be so insane. In the future, science is done via artificial intelligence, because artificial intelligence, deep learning, is going to be our interface to all information. And so all these future technological advances will be made possible by deep learning. And another amusing is, so this, the characteristic of this movie is it's 100% CG. And one thing I mentioned earlier is in the future, most cultural content is actually generated via AI or generated with the assistance of AI. And this is like a glimpse into how this is going to be made possible. If a computer used by a human can do it, then the next step is obviously to remove the human. Okay, so that's it for me. I think we are drawing towards the conclusion of this meetup. So I wanted to say,
We can come back here just for people who are online. And you said, yeah, we was at the conclusion.
yes, so I wanted to say a big thank you to everybody for coming. It's been a great meetup. Thank you, Fabien. Thank you, Alison. And thank you, Greg.
Yes, just don't forget, please invite your friends, contact us if you want to write anything. And there is no bad idea, there is only good ideas. And please come on Slack, invite people directly. Alison, maybe you will share the link to the video on the Slack and some cool stuff you explained today from NVIDIA. Yeah, I think we've got really an incredible future in front of us. And you are the hero for that. You are the guys and the ladies who will build this one. And please just act right now with ethic. Thank you. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's pretty well timed.
Don't forget your card.
We've got 8 minutes. Yeah, so I can sort of, you know, if anybody wants to chat. Well, yeah, I hate, there's never enough time.
Yeah, but it's just a teamwork. It's not only me. It's François. We are all working together.
This is the first time I met this.
It's the first time of people. Everyone, before moving, we will take a picture because and for everyone, before you are leaving the place, we just want to take a picture. We published a picture 4 weeks ago or 5 weeks ago. We was 7 in my garage. And right now we are more than that, and we just want to show the progress online.
Are you here?
Yes, if you can come here, please.
Okay.
Where can I follow you?
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm not an active researcher in the map, but obviously I'm following everybody else's. So let me give you a business card. I can't actually remember where my bag is. But let's.
The quicker we do this, the quicker it gets done. So if we can get tall people in the back, middle people, and then maybe a couple people kneeling. Just really quickly, we're gonna do it. All right, so we're gonna get taller people in the back. We're just gonna try and do this as quickly as possible so that people can leave, and it will not be a big deal. Just closer. Can we get closer, and then can we get a couple people kneeling just so we can get some variation? A couple of people kneeling in the front would be great. Thank you for taking the initiative. Great, fantastic. Okay, are you gonna be in this? You have to be in it.
Yeah.
You will take the picture. Okay, this is great. Yeah, squeeze in. You can still be in the picture. You were here. Okay, this is perfect. Awesome. I'm gonna go here. Oh no. You should go right there.
Okay, I understand.
Okay. All right, did you take it? Okay, ready? 1.
Is Julian getting in it?
Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, well, you can, Julian, bring him as well.
Yeah, just yeah. Just
No, it's okay.
I'm strong.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Take it.
Ah, Mini Doudou. Tu fais coucou, Mini Doudou.
Are you taking it?
What's happening? It's a big button.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to comment really quickly on your nice jigsaw.
Yeah, thank
It's really beautiful.
Yeah, thank
Was
you.
that in Britain?
Sorry?
Was a picture in Britain?
Yeah, that's actually it's a place called Nidderdale, which is in the Yorkshire Dales, I mean, I still live now, but I'm actually in the centre of the town called Harrogate.
I don't really know much about the geography. I just know that I want to ride over there.
Google Maps Nidderdale or Harrogate, and it's on one of the really cool places. There's great biking area.
I really want to rent a motorcycle and do a trip.
Be careful. Be careful. All right. It's,
Oh yeah, no,
I was older
ride
and
all
I've been
over
driving for 20 odd years. You know, I've got it. My son's about to be 18, and I won't let him have a bike. But then,
What my parents did, both my parents ride. What they did is
there you go.
they told me, you know, you're gonna have to buy your own motorcycle. Once you do, then we'll buy you the gear.
Just loads of gear.
Yeah.
We've got to run to the parking meters.
Oh.
How long do you get here before they shoot you?
Right on it.
Right on it.
Yeah.
We can be right here.
I think my bike's over there. I can't drive it though, so I know, but you can at least.
No, if you're in there, they'll just let you go.
Oh my
brings the ASCII characters
No, it's cool. I wanted to say. Yeah, we'll see. Oh yeah,
It's nice to see people across the Well, that's actually fine.